Hey everybody, it is time once again for another Rahdo Q&A. And hello everybody, I'm about to answer a bunch of questions submitted by folks like you to the email address questions@rahdo.com. And by all means folks, if anything I talk about or my wife talks about, because she sometimes shows up on these as well, prompts any further questions from you, well you know what to do. Questions@rahdo.com is the email address. Keep them coming, folks. I want to hear your cues so I can AM. And speaking of which, let's get right to it. But, folks, I'm going to talk about several different topics today, and if any of them don't really strike your fancy, don't worry. There are links down in the show notes that let you jump around from question to question so you can listen to just the parts you're interested in. All right, sound good? Then let's go. Mike says, I think you inadvertently misled people in your most recent Q&A when you said you could sell a $50 game for $40 and regard the $10 loss as a rental charge. Well, first of all, Mike, I don't think that's exactly what I said. I think I said that's what I used to do. Back before I became, big deal Rahdo, the vast majority of the games I get are actually sent to me for, to cover on the channel. Back when I was just a regular anonymous board game geek, I bought games. And again, this is over a decade ago that, I would buy a game for $50 plus shipping, and then I would turn around and sell it for $40 plus shipping. And so there was a $10, like I said, I literally considered it to be a rental charge as if you were renting movies from a Blockbuster. And it was a little more than 10 because, of course, there was a shipping as well. But, that's just part and parcel of it. There's no getting around that. I just kind of internalized, well, hey, and again, back then when I was living in England, there was no free Amazon Prime shipping. It didn't exist. So I should clarify. That's what I was talking about. Now, I do believe the same is still true now, but we're a decade on, and we've just gone through the worst, disruption to the worldwide, logistics supply chain in our lifetimes, in probably maybe one of the worst ones we'll ever see in our lives. And so, the numbers have changed, but the idea still stays the same. If Blockbuster still existed, I imagine it would cost more to rent a movie at Blockbuster as well. So, prices go up. But anyway, I was just talking about the prices I was talking about. Anyway, let's continue. In my experience in the UK, and by the way, everything I was talking about was when I was in the UK as well, the secondhand game markets has collapsed. Your example may be true for a handful of evergreen titles or a game that's less than a year old and still hot. For older or more midland games, you'd be lucky to sell it back at a 75% loss. In my experience, you can't give away games that rate a 7 out of 10 or older than 3 years. Okay then, my suggestion, Mike, don't buy those games new. And then expect to pay full retail, and then expect to get a nearly, a good return. Go on. What's a game? What's an old game from that's older than 3 years? Let's see here. How many? All right, okay. Let's look. And but not a popular game. Let's see. Hold on. Board Game Geek. Shadows over the Empire. We just talked about Shadows of the Empire. This is a game that nobody remembers. I barely remembered it. But if you saw my video and you decided you wanted to get it, well, first of all, you're not going to be able to pay full price for this anyway. If you find it any place, it's not going to cost much. But let's just go to Board Game Geek and let's see. What happens if I click the subscribe? Hey, look at this. There's people selling it for $5, $9, $19. And here's the deal. Mike, if you go and buy Shadows of the Empire for anywhere from $5 to $19, and then you decide you don't like it, I guarantee you could put it back on Board Game Geek and sell it for $3. And you know what? You'll still make the similar type of return to what I'm talking about. You'll still have to pay the shipping, and the shipping has always been there. And to be fair, shipping is more expensive than it used to be, but everything is more. Getting a pizza delivered to your home is more expensive than it used to be. So, okay, and this is gosh. How? Okay, all right. What are we gonna do? I am gonna go. And look at me, but this is like a little game that nobody remembers. You're talking about games from 3 years ago, right? Why won't you find this? All right, I also want to go to my list. There is my geek list, right? And I just want to look at games I covered 3 years ago. So just show me the list of 2,301 games that have been covered on my channel. We're in the year 2024, so let's go back to 2021. And Lions of Lydia. Let's say you wanted to pick up a copy of that. I thought it was a neat little game. You know, it had a bit of popularity because it was coming off the success from designer Johnny Pack. He had a great first year, and this is one of his follow-ups. Didn't really quite catch the world on fire, but let's see. Lions of Lydia. Traditional bartering, blah, blah, blah. Alrighty, and I would like to buy that, please. And hey, what do you know? I could buy it for $10 right now. Now, to be fair, that's in America, but let's look at all of them. And okay, in Germany, I could get it for $12. 12 United States dollars. So, for what is that? Less than 10 euros, you could get a copy of Lion of Lydia. You'd have to pay a little bit more to have it shipped to you from Germany to the UK, but it's still there. I didn't mention this, but hey, I had to do that all the time when I'm talking about 10 years ago because a lot of the games I wanted, I had to get from people in America to ship it to me to England or from Germany to ship it to England. It's right there, buddy. There's a game from 3 years ago. You can get it for $12. And then if it turns out you don't like it, you can put it right back on Boardgame Geek and say, hey, I will sell this for $8. And I guarantee you, within a month or two, you'll get somebody in Europe who says, oh, only $8 plus shipping? Yeah, I'll get it. And it'll be sold. That's the reality of it. It does still exist. It's right there. So anyway, you say it's collapsed, but I disagree. Now, again, if the problem is, of course, Amazon has now trained us to think in terms of, oh, I should never have to pay for shipping, when in fact, shipping prices, because of the aforementioned worldwide pandemic, and a bunch of other stuff besides, have gone up in price. So I will not deny there is you are going to have to pay to get stuff shipped to you. That's true for pretty much everything in the universe. And it's not like it's not true for Amazon Prime too. You just have to pay. The reason Amazon Prime works is because you pay, what is it now? Is it like $150 a year so that you can get free shipping? Oh, what do you know? How about if I didn't pay that $150 a year and instead just paid shipping on the dozen or so things or the 1 or 2 dozen things I buy over the year? What do you think? Might it come out to around $150 shipping? Depending on what it is. It might. So there's no such thing as free shipping. Anyway, that's the way I tend to look at it. But anyway, continuing on. I'm sure various factors are to blame, including the cost of living crisis, gamers with overflowing shelves, ever-increasing cults of new, fueled by Kickstarters and content creators. My question is, when did you last try to sell a secondhand game? And does this match your experience and those of viewers outside the UK? Well, I haven't tried to sell a secondhand game in the UK since 10 years ago, but I don't sell games. When I'm done with them, I send them down to the Dice Tower West Convention Library. Which I don't know. You know what? Maybe you want to consider that. Think outside the box. If you think you cannot find an audience, well, here's the deal. If you can't find anybody to buy your used game, you're pricing it too high. That's the free hand of the market speaking and saying, well, you need to lower the price so that somebody will find it a reasonable thing to buy, considering the additional shipping costs they're going to have to pay. You can do that. And yeah, that means you maybe won't be able to sell a $50 game for a $40 game. But you know what? You could with when I was selling $50 games and getting $40 back, that's because I was getting the brand new games when they came out and they were hot and there was excitement and I would try it. And if I didn't like it, I was able to flip it. I believe that is still the case right now. Let's pick a hot new game, shall we? What's Earth, right? That's certainly a hot game. And if you got Earth and you paid your £50 for it and you decide you didn't like it and you want to flip around and sell it, let's look at the market on Boardgame Geek. There's 52 people selling it. And there's 6 pages I have to go through here. Is there a way I can do this better? And yep, there we go. There's somebody selling the French edition for £35. If it were the English edition, it'd probably already be sold right now. There's another one selling it for £40. Now here's the deal. Let's assume £40 is too much. You paid £50 for it. You're trying to get £40 back. To be fair, a year ago, of course, anybody would buy that for £40. We're still a year on. It's but if you wait until Earth gets its expansion, which means there's going to be a rejuvenated interest in it. But let's see, can't you go to Geek Market itself and actually see like a history of stuff? I'm trying to remember. All right, I am looking at the Geek Market. Things have changed. I know there used to be a thing where you could just actually see the sales history of this thing. Right, where is that? Oh, I know it's in here somewhere. All right, well, it's in here somewhere. But still, this is a game that's come out within the last year, and there are people who are buying it. And I guarantee you, I just don't know where to find it. All right, let's look a little bit deeper. Hold on. Oh, wait, I think it's right there. Yeah, it's right there. The words, price history. Oops, sorry. Oh my gosh, did I not have this on screen the whole time? Oh, that's embarrassing. Anyway, folks, sorry. I keep forgetting. I'm thinking of it as a podcast. I forget. Some people watch this instead of listen it. I've come to Earth. And when I'm on the page for Earth, I click buy or shopping, same diff. I get a list of, hey, here's actual stores selling it, but then forget about the stores or eBay. Here's the geek market. Here's people selling their used copies. And I just talked about it. But down here is price history. Let's look at the price history. Okay, so when it first came out, people were, and this, I believe, this is not just a list of what people are asking. Let me turn off the black so you can see it better. This is a list of actual sales. So when it first came out, people were selling it for $100 because, of course, they had advanced copies of it, and they were basically scalping, paying more than they paid $50 or $60, got it on Kickstarter. It wasn't available in retail yet, so people were literally selling it for upwards of $110. Now, of course, that has passed, and so we kind of level out to here we are a year later, and people are successfully selling it anywhere. From 40, 39. Let's see, somebody sold it for 20. What was the deal with that? Can I click on that? No, I can't. But okay, yeah, here, yeah. So, I can also see the evidence right here. So somebody sold it, this in the United States for $20. Now, I guarantee you, as soon as they listed that for $20, boom, it was sold. If they probably would have listed it for $35, it still would have sold, but it would have taken a little while longer. So, I will grant you, Mike, that maybe the return isn't quite as good as it used to be when I was doing this back in the day, because there were, we were pre-pandemic and all of that. But it's still happening. Let's see, what was that game I was just talking about? Shadows over Empire. Let's see, right? Shadows over the Empire. Let's look at that. And, alrighty. So it is, right, so these are people, right. Here's the price history. That's what I want. I want the price history. So yeah, there are people still selling it. Somebody sold one just the other day for $5. Canadian. I assume that C is Canadian. Somebody sold it for $10. So it's out there. If you want those older games, you can get them for pennies on the dollar. And if you are willing to sell them for what the market bears, you will still, maybe your rental fees have increased. They certainly have. The monthly rental fee for Netflix has also increased. It used to cost me X, now it costs me Y. Everything's gotten more expensive over the last 10 years. This is not different. But to say that it doesn't exist, that you cannot sell stuff, is just not the case. And then, if you don't want to do that, of course, there's always the other option. Because I started out buying and selling, but I only did that for my first half year. And then I discovered math trades. And math trades are still a thing. Math trades are still going strong. You find a math trade, you find one for your region, you find one for England, you find one for Europe, you find one for a convention you will be going to, whatever it is. There will be a math trade on BoardGame Geek. You list the games you want to trade away for other stuff. You find what other people have listed and said, oh, well, I would happily trade any of these games for that game, that game, that game, that game, that game. After the trade closes, there's computations run, and boom, people all get all their games traded away. That's what I did, before Rahdo became a thing, but after I stopped trying to buy and sell games, I basically spent, the first 2 years of my hardcore habit trading for games. And, and again, having to pay a little shipping. There's no getting around that, but, that is the nature of the world. So there are options. The options are not as, cost effective as they were 10 years ago, but neither is anything else. So give it a try. I mean, math trades are so much fun. They are a blast. They're like I did a run through on them years ago. Do a search for Rahdo Math Trade, and I walk you through how it all works. I know it's a very old video, and some of the stuff has changed, but I know that video still gets a lot of views and is still constantly recommended for, well, here's the basics, even if it's a little out of date and some of the interfaces have changed and whatnot. So you do have options. You do not have to rush right out and pay top dollar and just gamble on games. There's no reason for you to do it, just like I didn't do it back in the day. Okay, Natalie says, I want to thank Joshko for his observations, questions last time. I've been thinking about this exact theme and meaning to write you about for some time. I don't remember what Joshko said. Of course, you're writing that right after listening. Okay, I once bought a game after watching your run through and then was playing it, and though I did not feel... though it did not feel anything like your run through. I felt the issue was exactly as Joshko was describing. Okay, so right, okay, Joshko's thing was the very, very good point that if there's one thing that's misleading about my videos, it's the fact that because I do a constant, nonstop, high-energy monologue about my internal thought processes, I may make the game look more boisterous and more interactive, I guess, than it really is. Because, hey, as it happens, the majority of games that I really love are, when Jen and I play them, we are very silently sitting there crunching and cogitating, and every once in a while saying, oh my goodness, or, oh, what did you do? How did you do that? But for the most part, we're just focused, head down, trying to push our way through, and Joshko made the very valid point that my videos, by their very nature, well, they can't represent that, because I'd have to just sit in silence and not say anything while I play and just play cards out. And so that might mislead. And I remember now, Joshko rocked me to my core. And I did think about it afterwards, but honestly, I don't think there's anything I can do about it. Because while my videos do not replicate what it would look like to film people playing a game, because people don't articulate their thoughts every step of the way, I do believe that my videos, well, all I can say is my videos articulate the experience for me, because that level of boisterous enthusiasm I have that I verbalize while doing a run through, that is 100% what is going on in my head while I'm playing a game. If it is fun, I am excited, I am shouting, I am bouncing off the wall trying to do things, but all of it is in my head. And I am replicating. As I thought about this more, and I realized, no, I am. I mean, like I said, we just played with some people for the first time there, the first game ever of Wingspan. And I hadn't played Wingspan in quite a while. And I'm once again reminded, oh my gosh, this is just so much fun. And, you know, even if we're not all talking, other than me explaining things to them, because it was our first game, you know, I am still have that, you know, mile-a-minute motor mouth thing going on. So maybe that's a reflection of my brain. I don't know. You know, I mean, we all have different, you know, brains. So I'm not. Yeah, it was a very good point that Joshko brought up, and Natalie, I apologize if I've misled you. I wish you had mentioned which game, though. Boy, I really wish you had, because I would stop right now and I would go watch that video from stem to stern at double or triple speed, of course, to see how I did it wrong. How? Because I appreciate it. I accept that this is your and Joshko's lived experience, but I don't think it would be mine if I were a third party, so it would really help me. So Natalie, I've already made 6 notes. I'm not sure if you're a backer of the show, if you're going to be able to continue with the question and answers in the rambles, but if you are, by all means, please, I beg you, follow up and let me know one of the videos where this happened to you, because I would love to be able to evaluate it and see if maybe there is something that I could do to help avoid this in the future. All right, anyway though. Olivier says, I've noticed recently the Patreon posts of the run-throughs often open with, Paulo here to let you know there's a new video for you to check out. Did you change your process for releasing new videos and now it's Paulo who posts them, and when he's done goof checking them instead of having the extra step? Yes, that's exactly what happened. You know, this year, 2024, you may notice there's a thread that is replicated by this very thing being the final podcast I'm ever going to do, where I am just trying like crazy to prevent myself from burning out and stopping doing the channel completely and just handing it over to Shay and the gang and letting them run it. Because I know as soon as I do that, as soon as I disappear completely, which is going to happen, it's going to happen sooner or later. Sooner or later, I'm going to burn out, but I'm trying to put off burning out as much as I humanly can, to where I am now. As of right now, I am making a fraction of what I was making off of my channel even a year ago, because I'm having other people do the run-throughs more. I have a full-time employee who interacts with the publisher, so I never really have any direct dealings with them when I'm doing, you know, sponsored previews or any of that kind of stuff, or very rarely. Sometimes I do a little bit, but for the most part I don't. Just so there are fewer things I have to do to stay on that camera, talk into this microphone, and actually continue to do the show. At this point, mostly so that the channel can continue to survive, so that it can help provide for others to make their livings. That's kind of where I'm at right now. So I am looking everywhere for ways to simplify and streamline and reduce the stress level that the Rahdo Runs Through channel gives me. And it recently occurred to me, I always mix up Ruel and Paulo's name. They're nothing alike. I mean, they both have U's, but they don't even sound the same. But I've always, for years, paid Paulo to, one, watch the video all the way through and note any mistakes in the Klingon subtitles, add all the links to the show notes that say, hey, if you want to keep watching, jump over here. And if it's a Kickstarter campaign, here's a link to the Kickstarter campaign. And then I did everything else. So it occurred to me a month or so ago, hey, all this other stuff probably takes me, I don't know how many hours every week. I could pay Paulo to do that instead. Because Paulo's already doing about 20% of all the post-upload work that needs to be done. And that includes actually posting, maintaining the Patreon page, all of that stuff. I can just give Paulo my Patreon password, which is very dangerous, of course. He could probably start doing some identity fraud stuff now, I guess. But at this point, I trust him implicitly like a brother. And I could pay him to do that. One, he'll make a lot more money. I think that's raised his income, and he was already making pretty good money doing this show. That's raised his income significantly, and it's lowered my stress level significantly. Ultimately, I want him to do it on Boardgame as well. He didn't want to sign up for that right away. He was like, okay, can you still do that part? I'm like, okay, hopefully he'll do that part eventually for me too. Although, I mean, the posting on Boardgame Geek is not too terribly tough in the grand scheme of things. Also, I'm hoping over time to well, actually, I was going to say, I was hoping to get him to where he would start doing the, what do you call it? One thing he doesn't do for the show notes is the timestamps so that you can jump, like in the R&R show, from, entry number 7 to entry number 6, number 5, because that takes a long time too. You have to watch the video, you have to find them, you have to type them in, you have to double check them to make sure you didn't transcribe numbers, and if the video changes, you have to change all the values of those. It's a real pain. And I'm still doing that stuff, but I'm hoping before too long he'll say, okay, I've gotten used to this, I'm comfortable. Oh, making the thumbnails. He now makes the thumbnails. He's doing all of that stuff that I used to have to spend hours every week doing. And now I'm paying him to spend hours every week doing. And I think he's pretty happy with it. At least he says he is. I know I'm paying him a lot more now. The first time I got, he basically bills me every month because he's a contractor. I'm like, whoa, that is like twice what you normally make. So, I mean, and honestly, that makes me incredibly happy. So it's a win-win for everybody. So that's why you're seeing that happen. That is what has happened. And, at the same time, that's why, look, I'm just not going to do this podcast for free anymore. If I could get paid, I would do it. But I have just failed. So that's where we are. But anyway, yeah, Olivier, that is what's going on there. Well spotted. Again, there is a theme. There's a thread here. All right, from TMDC. Love these Q&As. Rahdo, what's your favorite co-op of the last couple of years? Also, as Boardgame Thanos, which would you destroy? All co-ops or all competitive games? I can tell you right now, I would destroy all competitive games. Because if I could only choose one, that's not even a no-brainer. It would be co-ops 100%. Even though, of the 400 or some games I own, probably only about 50 of them, I don't even know what the number is. I can find out, though. Let's find out. Let's come back over to the browser and let's all go to advanced search. Boop. Where are we? There's Boardgame Geek. Go back to advanced search and thinking about it. Okay. Let's say everything I own, but forget expansions. We're ignoring that. And that comes up with, all right, 5 pages. And I believe every one of these pages has 50 entries on it. So this isn't quite right because there's also games. All right, this isn't going to work. This isn't going to work. All right, well, it'll work for the purposes of this. This is only about half my collection because about half my collection I don't have labeled as owned, but as pre-ordered. And I've talked about this in the past. You can go to faq.rahdo.com to see how I label things in all kinds of weird ways. But anyway, let's say for this sampling of the games I own, the 250, about half of my collection. So that was 5 pages of 50 a pop. Let's come back and now minimize it to mechanics or mechanisms, cooperative. And still, is it no expansions owned by me? And as a subset of that, there are on one page. So 50. So you can see a very small percentage. And again, this is not to scale at all. This is not quite right, but it'll do. Even though there are significantly fewer co-op games I love than competitive games I love, that's not a reflection of my love of competitive versus cooperative. Because cooperative games are still competing. It's just we're competing against the designer of the game. Me and Jem are teaming up. It's a team game where it's me and Jen versus the designer and all the special rules he's come up with to beat us. He or she, I should say. Or all the rules they have come up with to beat us. And sure, of course, I would much rather work with the love of my life than work against the love of my life and overcome a common objective. It's one of the secrets to our marriage. It's why we've been married for over 30 years successfully, because we, of course, want to work together. It's just woven into our DNA that is what we would rather do. So, yeah, that's easy. Snap. All competitive games in the universe are gone. There is nothing but co-op games. Thanos, with my Infinity Gauntlet, have spoken. But now you asked what recently. Let's just, okay, we've still got this. And by the way, you could do this as well, TMDC. You can go to Board Game Geek, do an advanced search, specify by Rahdo, specify co-ops. And now the only thing that's missing is, you said, in the last couple of years. So we got to go back one, and we just also have to put in the dates, right? So year release, 2000, 2 years, right? So 22 to, or let's go to 21. 2021 to 2024, because we're only halfway through this year. And then owned by Rahdo, ignore expansions. And what are some, what did you say? What are my favorite co-ops of the last couple of years? All right. Oh, you know what? I lie. I tell a lie. You can't do this, because if you did this exact same thing, I don't understand why. For me, when I do it, I get to see my rating, but if you did it, because you're not logged in as me, you don't get to see my rating. And that really sucks. So, okay, I'll tell you. The only 9 is Daybreak. Now, let's look for 8. All right, is there any 9.0s? Nope. Let's put 8.9s. Are there any 8.9s? Yes, there is. And that's Roll Camera. All right, are there any 8.8s? Nope. Are there any 8.7s? Yes, there is. Oh, wait, no, that's Slay the Spire. That's not me doing it. 8.6s, 8.5s. Then we got the Crew, Mission Deep Sea, Unsettled. Yeah, so there's 4. Those are my 4 favorite co-ops from the last few years. The Crew, Mission Deep Sea, Unsettled, Daybreak, and Roll Camera. But there are plenty more, and there's always more coming out. So there you go. Alrighty. That really bugs me. You can't see those numbers. There is a way to do it. Let's see if I can find the website, because it's such a great website. It's a website where you can look at people's collections and get a lot more information. I know I've got a shortcut for it somewhere. Let me see if I can find it really quick. I think it's this. I think it's geekgroup.app/users/Rahdo/ratings. Or you could just do geekgroup.app, right? And just do that. And then it just goes back. But then you can type in Rahdo, right? And it will query the Board Game Geek database, and now you can learn anything you want about my collection, right? Because you can specify. I know you can sort by all kinds of things. You know, you can. What short games does Rahdo love, or what short? Yeah, and I think you can do like their status, right? User rating, BGG rating, blah blah blah, wish list, or whether it's on my wish list or not. Right. I know there's other stuff here. Manage the layout. There's a bunch of things you can do here. I don't even know what all they are. But, I mean, this is a very, very powerful tool. It's talking about 495 games in my collection, and I know there is a way to specify by mechanism. I don't see it. Language official community minimum page. Right, so these are just all base stats of it. Plays, user rating, wish list priority. Filters. I got to go into filters. There we go. So now you can get into the nitty gritty, right? You can look at my status and see, pre-orders. Include pre-orders. Right? Include pre-orders. So now it's gone up to 1,200 games. Now you're getting a full list, because games I own, I either flag them as owned or pre-ordered. Because pre-ordered, it's a whole thing. Again, go to faq.rahdo.com and I explain what's going on there. Although I don't have 12,000, because there's still expansions in here. Oh my gosh, you can merge duplicate items? Wow, I didn't know this thing was so powerful. All right, and but anyway, you could now find things. You could do stuff based on length or weight or mechanisms, categories, mechanics. There we go. So then you could type in, co-op, please. Co-op. Cooperation. There we go. Cooperative play. These are just the, and so we get to a list. I think, what's going to be here. Yeah, a lot of these are expansions. So you got to, oh my gosh, once again, why do I keep messing up? This is it, folks. This is everything I've just been talking about. Here it is. It's geekgroup.app. This is an amazing site. If you're a stats junkie and you want to know everything about what I like and what I don't like and what I've gotten rid of, I think you can include status here, previously owned, right? Yeah, previously owned. If you just want to look through forget about these other things, look through everything I got rid of, right? And then you will see 186 games. That doesn't seem right. Is it because I've merged duplicate items? No? All right. Well, anyway. I'm not going to figure out how to use this site for you, but it's here. It's an amazing tool, and you can find out a lot more. The questions you're asking, you could find at geekgroup.app. Okay. And that will be the end of this session of the Rahdo Q&A. Thank you, folks, for watching and also for submitting your questions. Send me more to the email address questions@rahdo.com, and I'll get you covered in a future episode. And in the meantime, if you would like to hear some more, you're in luck. I have been doing the Rahdo Talks Through audio podcast for years now with my wife, Jen, and we have got hundreds of hours for you to enjoy. You can hit that big box that's on screen right now if you want to dive deep. Also, you can go on ahead and subscribe so you won't miss the next Rahdo Q&A. And thank you, folks, for watching, for listening. Have a very, very nice day. Talk to you later. So long. Bye-bye.